Hello everyone, this is Shell Point Today for Monday, June 6th. I'm Dan Philgreen. On today's show, Adu-Sarkodie will give us a preview of his Health Connections class on lifestyle modification. And we'll look at some travel opportunities still available for this year and next. By now, you've either attended or viewed the recent Hurricane Resident Seminar for 2016. If not, it is available to check out of the library on the island. If you're a pet owner, you may have additional questions or concerns about caring for your pet if a storm threatens and an evacuation is declared. If that is the case, then be sure to attend the Pet Owners Hurricane Seminar this Wednesday. It begins at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. Also on Wednesday, there's another Do You Know Your Neighbor event. The city of Miami is at Florida's southeastern tip. It is a vibrant city whose Cuban influence is reflected in cafes and shops of Little Havana. Miami Beach is home to the glamorous South Beach, famed for its colorful Art Deco buildings, white sand, and surfside hotels. If you're from Miami, have visited the city, or are interested in the culture, then plan to attend the Do You Know Your Neighbor event in the Social Center Wednesday at 2:15. Light refreshments will be served. The best way of fighting cardiovascular disease is to maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle. Taking simple steps every day will move you towards long-term benefits for your health and heart. Join Shell Point pharmacist Adu-Sarkodie for Wednesday's Health Connections class to learn more. For a preview of the class, here's Heather Battey and Yao.
Hi, I'm Heather Battey with Resort Services. Today I'm here with our own pharmacist, Adu-Sarkodie. He's here to talk to you about his upcoming Health Connection program entitled Lifestyle Modification. Yao, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes, you did.
I always have to practice that a couple times.
That's all right.
So I'm really pleased to hear you're going to be doing lifestyle modification. That's going to be all-encompassing.
Right.
What kind of things will you be focusing on for that presentation?
Well, speak about lifestyle modification as part of drug therapy in general. Over the years, in fact, since 1973, it's been recognized that changes in lifestyle regarding diet, physical activity, sometimes even alcohol consumption helps with blood pressure or hypertension. And it has been adopted over the years in treating obesity, coronary heart disease, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been termed as non-pharmacologic therapy as well. And in steps of treating various diseases, such modifications have been recognized even as first step in some people prior to starting any drug therapy.
Right. So a lot of people now are trying to say, instead of just going right for the medication, try eating a healthier, balanced diet, working out, being physically active, maybe getting better sleep.
That's correct.
All those sort of things.
Based on an individual's what we call risk factors. If a person is non-hypertensive, for instance, you may start such modifications. If you drink more than so many a week or a day, you might want to reduce that. If you don't exercise as much, if the body can, tolerate it, maybe increase your physical activity. Watch your diet, less salt, less fat, things like that.
Right.
That in of itself might be able to get you away from even getting drug therapy in the first place. However, a person at risk may, couple that with drug therapy and they'll feel better.
Right.
Yep.
Are there what kind of things in particular? You said maybe hypertension, cholesterol, is that another one that can be?
Right. As far as the hypertensive program goes, there's a joint national committee, a task force that was set, as I said before, back in the early 70s. And they adopted a diet program called DASH, D-A-S-H, standing for dietary approaches to stop hypertension. And that is a balanced diet, vegetables, fruit, less salt or low sodium, low fat, and that sort of thing. So we'll touch on that and
Great.
give it a little more detail.
Well, it's always good to have a lifestyle modification and not have so many medications.
Right.
We get that too. You start to combine all the medications and they get the side effects from that. So starting with the lifestyle modification and the diet and just the healthy lifestyle, I think are these great choices that you're going to be able to offer.
Perfect.
This program is Wednesday, June 8th at the Social Center at 10:15. Again, it's called Lifestyle Modification. It's a health connection program and you can sign up at either service desk. Thank you and stay happy and healthy.
Heather Battey speaks with Jeanne Veldman of Isings Travel to talk about the travel program catered specifically to Shell Point residents. Every year there are fantastic trips offered, and Jeanne is excited to tell us about some of the excursions still to come this summer.
Hi, I'm Heather Battey with Resort Services. Today I'm here with Jeanne from Isings Travel. We're going to be talking about our Shell Point travel program. Hi Jeanne, thanks for being here with me today.
Hey Heather, thank you for having me here.
And we're here in the mountains.
Just to give a little bit more atmosphere to the trips that are coming up. Wonderful.
So tell me about Shell Point's travel program that you run from Isings Travel for us.
Well, it really is a unique program. What we do is include a lot of different features that you don't see with anyone else. We want Shell Point to have a very, very special program. And in it, it's all based on the experiences. Any trip that we put together, we always try to find something that will supersede any experiences that the residents may have had in the past, even if they've been to those destinations before. And we also include the conveniences. So in every Shell Point trip, it always has an escort that goes along. On most of the trips, it is a professional escort that gives them an idea of each one of the destinations that they're going to. And also we try to come up with a special security protocol for them. So wherever they're going, they're watched over, everything's taken care of, any needs that they have is taken care of. It starts right from their door. Right. We include door-to-door transportation, and we care for them all the way through during the entire trip. On the tours, on the land tours, we specifically limit them to no more than 28 guests. That way we feel that we can give them a more superlative experience and more individualized experience through the entire trip.
Right.
On the cruises, we make sure there's social experiences every time.
Yes, I've heard they're very fun.
We do a lot of fun. We do door prizes on the cruises. We do mix and mingles every night. We don't want any resident ever to come on a trip and never get to know anybody else on the trip. We want everybody to have a great time.
They sound like great trips whenever I hear.
Well, we always try to up the skill level or the classic level of the trip. So anytime we get a recommendation, we're always upping the ante and making sure they're fabulous.
So what are some of these upcoming fabulous trips that we're going on?
Well, if you look at the Shell Point list, the next one in line is Alaska. And you can see that we're standing in front of a little bit of Alaska here, just to get us in the mood. Another great trip. Well, yes, it kind of goes back and forth, but Alaska is a very majestic place. And here we're doing a land tour and a cruise combined. So our folks will get to go to Fairbanks, they'll go into Denali National Park, they'll go to the Kenai and have the beautiful Kenai Fjords cruise, and then starts the Holland America cruise from the Kenai down to Vancouver. Wow. And the sights are spectacular. We're going to be going to the Skagway port, where you're going to have the White Pass Railroad into the Yukon. We're going to be going to Juneau, the capital of Alaska. You'll see breaching whales here as you're going through the passage. And of course there's Ketchikan, and most people haven't even been to Misty Fjords National Park, one of the most beautiful national parks that exist in Alaska. After that, there's a brand new tour we're planning.
Okay.
This one will be our Thousand Islands tour and Niagara Falls. So this one's just in the making right now. So the actual flyer is going to come out in the very near future. But keep it in mind.
When is that?
That will be probably the end of July, because we're kind of moving it in end of July based on early August, somewhere in there. And on that one, we'll fly up to Burlington, Vermont for 2 nights. We'll cross Lake Champlain and spend 2 nights in Lake Placid.
Wonderful.
Then across northern New York, up to the Center Islands, where the Thousand Island Cruise takes you on a beautiful day cruise through the islands. And then 2 nights at Niagara Falls.
Very fun.
So very fun trip. That's coming up. There's a spectacular trip coming up with Ireland and a transatlantic crossing on the Queen Mary 2. That one, again, is really an outstanding trip of Southern Ireland with 2 nights in Dublin. We're going to spend 2 nights on the property of Ashford Castle. So it'll be spectacular. We'll see the cliffs of Moher. We'll spend 2 nights in Killarney. We'll spend a night in Waterford, and then cross into England for 3 nights in Bath. And here we'll explore the beautiful historic Cotswolds and Shakespeare territory, Stonehenge, and then come transatlantic on the Queen Mary 2.
Wow, I'm going to pack my bags.
It's time to go.
I'm ready to go.
Yep.
So in order to sign up for these trips, you can call either service desk, or you can reach out to Bev Chanley, or you could even call Isings Travel and speak with Jeanne. So if you're like me, you're going to want to pack your bags and get ready to go on one of these fantastic trips. Thank you so much, and stay happy and healthy.
Thank you, everyone.
It's just about time to cover all of Monday's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections, right after this Listening to the Words preview from David Howenstein.
Join me this week on Listening to the Words as we look at books and the words that fill them and some of the reasons why we love them. First, we'll hear the words of a man who started writing poems in his 80s. Also, find out how the author of Winnie the Pooh first learned to read. Also, the book that changed the life of current best-selling novelist James Patterson. You'll hear the words of Shell Point landscape manager Steve Morton, and 2 Shell Point residents, Marianne Bennett and Jeanne Zelko, will be reading aloud stories on this edition of Listening to the Words. David Howenstein reminding you that every week's 30-minute program plays on Shell Point Channel 12 at the top and again at the bottom of each hour all 7 days of the week, with a new show starting each Monday. Repeats of Sunday's Village Church service run 3 times each day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And those who cannot tune to Channel 12 can catch all the Listening to the Words programs at www.shellpoint.net/listening. Thank you for listening to the Words.
Hello, and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chanley.
And I'm Caitlin Vanskoy.
And we're going to tell you the activities that we offer for you here today at Shell Point. We're going to start at 8 o'clock today with the men's round-robin tennis down at the Woodlands. We have virtual bowling in the Resident Activity Center at 8:45. At 9:15, billiards will be in the Resident Activity Center. Also at 9:15, the Lollygaggers paddlers will be down at the kayak storage for their weekly outing. And our last 9:15 activity today is the pottery, with instruction available in the pottery studio. We're going to move on to 10 o'clock, where men's match play tennis will be down at the Woodlands. And our Parkinson's Enrichment Group will be at Community Room of King's Crown at 10:15. We have a lunch outing going out today to the Fish House on Fort Myers Beach. Court pickups begin on the island at 10:30, 10:40 for the Woodlands, and 10:50 for Eagles Preserve and Estuary. At 10:30, the Disciple Men's Bible Study Group will be in the game room of the Woodlands. And the Table Tennis Playing Clinic will be in the Island Tunnel at 10:45. We have a Health Connections class, Bar Ball Edition, in the Tarpon Room at 11:30, and that rounds out the morning. Here's Caitlin to tell you what's going on this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Bev. We start at 12 o'clock with Mahjong in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. And following that is Zumba Fitness in the Tarpon Room at 12:45. Samba the card game will be played in the Resident Activity Center at 1:15. Then we move to 1:45 for a Health Connections class, Osteo Break Free. That's in the Tarpon Room. The Beady-Eyed Bead Club will be meeting in the Oak Room of the Woodlands at 2 o'clock. And 3 o'clock is the time for another Health Connections class, Pilates Stretch, in the Tarpon Room. We move all the way to 5 o'clock for the singles table. That will be available for anybody at the Crystal Dining Room. 6:30 is the time for beginner square dancing in the Tarpon Room. Also at 6:30, duplicate bridge in the game room of the Woodlands. Our last Monday activity is square dancing in the Tarpon Room at 7:30. We're so happy you joined us here today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information from Monday, June 6th. At 10 o'clock, we welcome the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation for Everglades 101 in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 10:15, iPad apps will continue in the Manatee Room on the island. And at 10:30, the Anatomy of Words group welcomes everyone to the Oak Room at the Woodlands. At 1 o'clock, Mahjong Defense and Strategies begins in the Country Kitchen on the second floor of the Arbor at the Woodlands. Sign-up is required. We have 2 brand new classes coming tomorrow. What is Hospice Care Really? Presented by staff from Hope Healthcare Services and from Shell Point. We also have Printing from Your iPad with Penny Modrich of Nautilus.
Menus for Monday, June the 6th. In the Crystal Room, the platter is Italian sausage, 3-cheese lasagna, and Italian beans. The dinner is Old Home Cooking Night for $13.95. The soup is chicken gumbo. In the Island Cafe, the sandwich is bacon blue cheese burger with fries for $7.75. The Palm Grill is closed on Mondays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Corrie ten Boom, her father and siblings, lived in rooms above a clock shop in Haarlem, the Netherlands, during the Second World War. They were devout Christians, so their faith inspired them to help those in need. They held a deep respect for the Jews, considering them God's ancient people. In May 1940, the German blitzkrieg ran through the Netherlands, and the quiet life of the ten Boom family was changed forever. Corrie's home over the clock shop became a refuge for Jews, the shop making the house an ideal front for these activities. A secret room, no larger than a small closet, was built into Corrie's bedroom behind a false wall. It could hold up to 6 people. When the security sweeps came through the neighborhood, a buzzer in the house would signal danger, allowing the refugees a little over 1 minute to seek sanctuary in the hiding place. The entire ten Boom family became active in the Dutch resistance, risking their lives by harboring those hunted by the Gestapo. Corrie became a leader in the movement, overseeing a network of safe houses in the Netherlands. Through these activities, it was estimated that the lives of 800 Jews were saved. On February 28, 1944, however, a Dutch informant told the Nazis of the ten Boom's activities, and the Gestapo raided the home. The entire family was arrested, although the German soldiers didn't find the half-dozen Jews safely concealed in the hiding place. Almost 3 days later, they were rescued by the Dutch underground. All ten Boom family members were incarcerated, including Corrie's 84-year-old father, who soon died in prison. Corrie and her sister Betsy were imprisoned in the notorious Ravensbrück concentration camp near Berlin. Betsy died there on December the 16th, 1944. 12 days later, Corrie was released for reasons unknown. Corrie ten Boom returned to the Netherlands after the war and set up a rehabilitation center for concentration camp survivors. As a Christian, she even took in those who had cooperated with the Germans during the occupation. In 1946, she began a worldwide ministry that took her to more than 60 countries. She received many tributes, including being knighted by the Queen of the Netherlands. In 1971, she wrote a best-selling book entitled The Hiding Place, which was made into a movie in 1975. In 1979, I had the opportunity to visit the clock shop in Haarlem in the good company of my 12-year-old son, Jeanne. We stood there in the street and tried to picture what had taken place in that home less than 40 years previously. Since then, the home has been made into a museum, while the shop is still in business. In 1947, Corrie had an experience that contains a challenge. Let me recount it for you now in her own words. It was in a church in Munich that I saw him. A balding, heavy-set man in a grey overcoat, a brown felt hat clutched between his hands. People were filing out of the basement room where I had just spoken, moving along the rows of wooden chairs to the door at the rear. It was 1947, and I had come from Holland to defeated Germany with the message that God forgives. It was the truth they needed most to hear in that bitter, bombed-out land, and I gave them my favorite mental picture. Maybe because the sea is never far from a Hollander's mind, I liked to think that that's where forgiven sins were thrown. When we confess our sins, I said, God casts them into the deepest ocean, gone forever. The solemn faces stared back at me, not quite daring to believe. There were never questions after a talk in Germany in 1947. People stood up in silence collected their wraps, and in silence left the room. And that's when I saw him, working his way forward against the others. One moment I saw the overcoat and the brown hat. The next, a blue uniform and a visored cap with its skull and crossbones. It came back with a rush. The huge room with its harsh overhead lights. The pathetic pile of dresses and shoes in the center of the floor. The shame of walking naked past this man. I could see my sister's frail form ahead of me, ribs sharp beneath the parchment skin. Betsy and I had been arrested for concealing Jews in our home during the Nazi occupation of Holland. This man had been a guard at Ravensbrück concentration camp where we were sent. Now he was in front of me, hand thrust out. A fine message, Fräulein. How good it is to know that, as you say, all our sins are in the bottom of the sea. And I, who had spoken so glibly about forgiveness, fumbled in my pocketbook rather than take his hand. He wouldn't remember me, of course. How could he remember one prisoner among those thousands of women? But I remembered him, and the leather crop swinging from his belt. It was the first time since my release that I had been face to face with one of my captors, and my blood seemed to freeze. You mentioned Ravensbrück in your talk, he was saying. I was a guard there. No, he didn't remember me. But since that time, he went on, I have become a Christian. I know that God has forgiven me for the cruel things that I did there. But I would like to hear it from your lips as well. Fräulein, again the hand came out. Will you forgive me? And I stood there, I whose sins had every day to be forgiven, and could not. Betsy had died in that place. Could he erase her slow, terrible death simply by asking? It could not have been many seconds that he stood there, hand held out, but to me it seemed hours as I wrestled with the most difficult thing I had ever had to do. For I had to do it, I knew that. The message that God forgives has a prior condition, that we forgive those who have injured us. If you do not forgive men their trespasses, Jesus said, neither will your Father in heaven forgive you your trespasses. I knew it, not only as a commandment of God, but as a daily experience. Since the end of the war, I had a home in Holland for the victims of Nazi brutality. Those who had been able to forgive their enemies were also able to return to the outside world and rebuild their lives, no matter what the physical scars. Those who nursed bitterness remained invalids. It was as simple and as horrible as that. And still I stood there with the coldness clutching my heart. But forgiveness is not an emotion. I knew that too. Forgiveness is an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart. Jesus, help me, I prayed silently. I can lift my hand. I can do that much. You supply the feeling. And so, woodenly, mechanically, I thrust my hand into the one stretched out to me. And as I did, an incredible thing took place. The current started in my shoulder, raced down my arm, and sprang into our joined hands. And then this healing warmth seemed to flood my whole being, bringing tears to my eyes. I forgive you, brother, with all my heart, I cried. For a long moment, we grasped each other's hands, the former guard and the former prisoner. I had never known God's love so intensely as I did then.
Thanks for joining us for today's program. Tomorrow, fitness instructor Melody Broad will take us out to the Aquatic Center for a fitness tip. And we'll give you some tips for preparing your very own hurricane kit. Until then, this has been Dan Filgreen for Shell Point TV for Monday, June 6th. And on behalf of the entire SPTV staff, we wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.